So after selling my company, the Model S 75D that I had went back to the company, and so I replaced it with this, which is a Model 3 Performance, just the base model, but Model 3 Performance, which is the highest spec Model 3, but with no extras added onto it, if that makes sense. And aside from the standard things that I had on the 75D, I also had a satin dark grey, a matte dark grey wrap added to it, which I think just finished it off. Also with the, I think it was burnt orange accents, which just, that finished it off perfectly. So overall, this car is faster from 0 to 60 than the Model S. It charges faster, so it has access to faster chargers throughout the country, and it will charge at a higher rate. Its technology is newer and faster and just more responsive, which is more like an iPad with the center dashboard here. It can go further on a charge. It does between 280 and 300 miles, I think, on a full charge. And it's just small, nice, neat, and more like a go-kart, to be honest. So if you are thinking about buying one, then, well, that's my summary. Go do it. And maybe if you're going to consider buying one, then first of all, obviously subscribe to the channel if you want to. And also consider using my referral code, which I believe gives both of us 1,000 free supercharging miles. So there, thank you. And if you're still here, then, well, let's talk a little more in detail. Firstly, things I miss about the Model S. And in honesty, it's not that much, really. I miss having the wrap, definitely. I mean, that was such a lovely wrap, and I'd just gotten used to having people stare at the car every single journey that you go on. Even my wife commented and said, does everyone stare at you when you're in your car? And that's, it didn't really wear off, and I just thought that the grey finish and the orange stripes on it it really finished that off really well. Thing I also do miss a little bit more is some of the more advanced Autopilot features. With the Model S, you could buy something at the time called Enhanced Autopilot, which basically gives you all of the self-driving, so the driving on the motorways and things, but it also allows you to have Summon, which will allow you to park your car in and out of spaces, and the more recently advanced Summon, which will literally come and find you out of a car parking space or basically drive to you. Although I've only really tried it in my work car park, and it was a bit hit and miss at times. And then Enhanced Autopilot also gives you auto lane change. So you're on autopilot on the motorway, you flick the indicator and the car will literally change lanes for you and take the indicator off. That's been really smart, and something I didn't think I'd miss, but yeah, certainly am noticing it now I'm in the Model 3. And with the Model 3, there is no Enhanced Autopilot option. You either get the standard Autopilot, which does the driving on motorways and main roads for you, or you pay for the full self-drive feature, which is about £5,000, I think. And that gives you Summon and gives you auto lane change, but it also gives you the potential in the future to have the full self-drive features, which they've been advertising for probably about 4 years, so that these cars are on the edge and almost about to be able to drive themselves, yet to be able to get there. And particularly here in the UK, they've nerfed so many features of the full self-driving. I mean, the Summon feature, which was nerfed at day one from being launched in the UK. In the States, you can use your key fob to use the Summon feature. In the UK, you cannot use your key fob. You only must use your mobile phone to control your car. And even then, you had to be stood pretty much in your car before it would work. And the new features and new restrictions also means that you have to have your phone connected via Bluetooth to your car for that feature to work. So in my Model 3 Performance, I opted for no full self-drive. I've just got the basic autopilot. It will drive itself on the roads, keep itself in the lanes, go around corners on motorways and A and B roads. So it does actually do quite a lot of the self-driving, but you have to keep your hands on the wheel. And it's still a massive thing to be able to drive such long distances, particularly motorway driving, and drive 200 miles and barely actually drive. It's pretty awesome. Oh, and that reminds me of another annoyance with the Model 3 versus the Model S, in that you can turn on the autopilot to go at the speed that you're driving at. So if you're going through roadworks or just slightly slower for whatever reason, you can turn on autopilot and by default it will go to the speed you're going. Whereas on the Model 3 you don't have that. So on the M27 where there are 50-mile-an-hour speed limit restrictions, you turn on autopilot and it tries to make you go 70 miles an hour. So you really quickly have to try and dial down the speed and try and avoid, obviously, getting any speeding fines from the autopilot going too fast. A minor thing, but still annoying all the same. Other niggles, well, I'm not really a fan of the wood finish that's standard on all of these cars. It's a bit, just no. Now, you also don't get a key fob on the Model 3. With the Model S, you've got a little miniature Model S car to use as your fob to open the front, the back, the car. And on the Model 3, you get basically a credit card that you swipe on the door to unlock, and then you pop it down here in the center console, and that will allow you to drive your car. One of the first things you are meant to do, though, is whilst you have the card, you can pair the car with your mobile phone, so you don't need a key whatsoever to get into your car and drive your car. It just your mobile phone works like a key for your car, which I think is really, really cool. Not having to carry around any car keys. But one of the downsides I've seen when having this thing with the card and the phone rather than a proper fob is that when I get home, I want to charge my car, so I stop the car, open the door, get out, close the door, walk round to the charging port on the car, and by the time I've done that, the car is locked so that I can't push the charging port to open it up. I then have to faff around to get my phone out, go into the Tesla app, open the charging port, and then I can plug my car in. Whereas on the Model S, you can just literally hold down the boot button of your key fob and the flap pops up. And also one more thing, Tesla, why have you removed HomeLink as an option from your Model 3 cars? If you have like a garage or gates that are electronically controlled, that your car knows how close you are, so it will automatically open your garage door when you're driving into it, and when you're driving away, it will automatically close your garage door, which is an awesome feature. However, on the Model 3s, it does not come as standard, and you can't even add it at the point of ordering. So there was me thinking it's a standard feature and it comes with it, so cool, okay. But I've now found out that it doesn't come as standard, and it's a £300 optional extra to pay Tesla to then have a Ranger come out and fit it to your car. Surely it makes sense to make it an option at the time of purchase. And that means actually that I have to use my home automation system to open the garage door, which means I have to use which isn't much of a faff still, I use the web browser on the car, and I can then open and close my garage door from that instead. So not as great, it's not automatic, and I have to make sure that I'm kind of there ahead of time. So yeah, it would be handy to have that there as well. So anyway, away from the negatives, on to the positives. Firstly, the speed is insane. It's like a go-kart, and a very, very fast go-kart. The torque is absolutely instant, and it throws you to the back of your seat. It's incredible. It's just so much fun to be able to be sat at the front of the traffic lights. The light goes green and you just blast your way all the way up to 30 miles an hour. Charging is also great because, well, first of all, Tesla have the one and only best charging networks of all car manufacturers, of all kind of charging and filling stations in the world, really. They have their superchargers rolled out pretty much worldwide within enough distance that you need to, and be able to basically travel around the world on their chargers alone. I think that's pretty awesome. With the Model 3s in the UK, they've upgraded half of the chargers. That means you can plug in and get the maximum amount of charging speed in half of the chargers in the UK, because they've got the CCS adapter rather than the Type 2s, which you still can use. So if there aren't any Model 3 slots available in the Tesla Supercharge network, you can just go and use any other charger. Comfort, this car I find is so much more comfortable than the Model S. Also because of things like it's a smaller car, it also has a normal turning circle, a much smaller turning circle than the Model S, which had just a ludicrously bad turning circle. When you're trying to park a Model S, you just can't, because the turning circle is just horrible on it. And also, it's weird having no dashboard, other than literally this screen is the only thing on the dash. But you can see so much more, and it's actually a much nicer experience to have none of these weird controls and things in front of you whilst you're driving. It's, yeah, pretty cool. Now, technology is where this car really, really shines. You've got this screen in the middle, which is much more like an iPad. It's so responsive versus the Model S that was really slow, in my opinion. It was really clunky. You tap a button and then wait a second or two for it to actually happen. Whereas with this, you tap a button and it's there straight away. And also, because of it being modern, you get access to modern features. When you're charging, for example, there is something in here called entertainment, and you can go into the entertainment, you can watch YouTube, you can watch Netflix whilst you're charging your car. How cool is that? Oh, and you could also play some fun games, apparently, which I've not seen before. I also read you can plug in a USB controller to play the game, so let's just try that. So, Xbox control. Well, that works really well. Also, the driving visualizations, which have made their way onto the Model S, is also insanely accurate. It picks up so many lanes on the motorway now, people, traffic, cones, even rubbish bins. Onto the cameras, so the Model 3 has all of the same cameras that the Model S does, but for some reason it has this camera right here, which faces inside. I believe it's not in use yet. Still a bit weird though. And lastly, onto costs. So I am paying £350 a month plus VAT for this Model 3 Performance on a 10,000 miles per year, 2-year lease, which is about half the cost that we were paying for the Model S that went less on a charge. It charged slower, it was slower to drive. It just seems like this is just everything that the Teslas should have been, and I appreciate that the Model S drivers have always paid a premium to be on the cutting edge of technology, and now it's kind of finalised in this Model 3, which is all of the latest tech. It goes so far on a charge. It's just incredible, and I would not recommend owning a Tesla outright just yet. This will be my third Tesla. I had a Model S, then the new Model S, and then the Model 3, and the prices just deteriorate so quickly. On my first Model S, you have a guaranteed future value. They were on PCP finance rather than lease. And basically you get a guaranteed future value that your car will be worth when you trade it back in 3 years' time. And my car was worth the guaranteed future value something like 12 months to 18 months into its PCP finance. These cars have depreciated so much because they're just like a laptop effectively. When the new one comes out, it's got better features, faster, newer technology, and the old ones are left a bit kind of old. But of course, once you factor in the fuel savings between buying petrol and diesel for filling up your car, the Tesla Model 3 provides a massive amount of savings on your monthly fuel costs. It costs me around £50 per month at very worst to charge my car up every single month from the grid. It's actually a lot less than that now because we switched to a tariff which gives us cheap electricity overnight, so we are paying something like half of the rate overnight to charge. And also we've recently had solar panels fitted and a Tesla Powerwall battery pack to the house, so we literally, particularly in the summer months of now whilst it's lovely outside, we charge the car for 100% free, and the house runs off 100% free from the sun. So to those of you who complain about how dirty an electric car is, wouldn't you want to have something that has the ability to run off of 100% renewable electricity? Anyway, on to some other things. Mobile phone charging. In the Model 3, you have a, by standard it's not wireless charging, there's just a pad here that you can plug in your charging cables and plug in your phone. I've upgraded to the Jeddah wireless charger, which replaces the tray, and you can literally just take your phone, pop it down, and your phone will charge. So that's pretty awesome, and it's also in a good eye line for if you want to use Waze or some other navigation. You just glance down there and you can see it all, which is really, really cool. And other than that, there are things that they've thought of this time. Door pockets, for one. We have door pockets. You did not get those in the Model S. In the very early days of the Model S, you didn't even get a center console. You had something called, do they call it like a yacht floor or something, I think, which was literally just one big plastic area that ran between the seats, and then if you put your keys or your phone or anything in between, it would just slide up and down the yacht floor. So they very quickly learned that even though you don't need one in an electric car because you're not hiding any of the gearbox or the gubbins, it's still good to have somewhere to place all your storage and your phones and your wallets and your drinks and all those kind of things. So also something else that seems to be far, far better in the Model 3 than it does the Model S, or at least my last two Model S's, the automatic windscreen wipers. Now, I haven't really used it that much given the current weather, but when I did pick this car up, you can turn the automatic windscreen wipers on, and they generally did the right thing. They kept up in the right time, they washed away just enough water. My Model S, I don't know what was wrong with it at all, but you turn on the automatic windscreen wipers and it would just go into panic mode. It would just go... What that left me doing was just driving the car and then manually making the windscreen wipers go when I needed them to go. Is there anything else I can think of in these cars? I also made a better decision with this car with the black seats. My last car, I actually liked it better in the Model S with the white seats because it looked just a bit more kind of posh. But two kids and yeah, dried milk on the seats, biscuits, crisps, sticky, just sweetie residue stuff. Yeah, that's not very fun to clean. And also even just jeans and things, you could see the jeans would come off, the blue colour would come off onto the car seats, and you'd have to wipe them regularly with like a baby wipe or something, which would bring them up well, but again, it's just a bit of a faff. Black seats, black car, awesome. Other differences that I can think of, the door handles. So rather than pulling a lever, or lever for you Americans, you just have a button. So you press the button, and the door pops open. So that's a bit new, a bit different. You do also have the quick release door handle here, so if for whatever reason the electrics, or you crash the car and the electrics aren't working, you can pull the door handle and it will manually open your door. Although it says manual door release used may cause damage to window trim. So I won't be doing that again. You also have the frunk like you did on the Model S's. It's obviously a little bit smaller, and you had no carpet, which was funny because it came with a first aid kit with Velcro grips, but there was nothing Velcro for it to go onto. So that's a bit strange. And the boot space, absolutely tons of boot space. Again, you have the underneath storage where there would be a spare tyre, but you don't have a spare tyre, you just get the extra storage space instead. You can also, I believe, fit a tow bar to the Model 3s, which you couldn't with the Model S's, not officially anyway. So if you do want to tow stuff, then you can do that with the Model 3. And also something I like about the Model 3s a lot more is the sound system. In my Model S, I had the premium sound system, which gave you a sub in the boot and better speakers and extra speakers and things. But as a standard sound system in the Model 3s, I've not paid to upgrade this, this is just how it comes. It's so much better. It doesn't have a sub in the boot, but it has just bassy speakers that just even out the sound a lot. And yeah, it's just far, far better. Unfortunately, the only problem with this car that I can see right now is that I can't drive it. I mean, I'm sat here in the car park of my workplace because I needed to go to work to pick up some bits so I can do some work at home, so that counts as an essential journey. But other than that, it's just been sat in my garage for the last 3 weeks. It's a real shame. But the alternative is, of course, much, much worse, so I'm gladly able to sit at home and do nothing for the foreseeable future. Well, not really do nothing because of kids, but I think I can do that. And hopefully these videos provide some form of entertainment or something for you to watch other than probably all of the TV series that you've binge watched and finished by now. So yeah, I hope that was a interesting video for everybody watching. Of course, like the video if you did. If you didn't like it, then hit the dislike button twice. Subscribe if you're not already, hit the bell icon to be notified of the future videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you, bye-bye. Do not go outside and have a barbecue with your mates. I think, didn't my wife tell me? I'm sure my wife told me the other day that they shut down 400 and something house parties in Manchester. What are these idiots doing? People just don't grasp the fact of what the whole country is doing here. The entire country has shut down. Ugh.